So you started in 2008. How'd you get started?
Yeah, I'd been working in an office and, finished in a relationship and was looking for something more interesting to do. And I was just hanging out with a guy and he played a porno movie. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So he was getting carried away with the movie and I was getting carried away with me being in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
So how is it that you visualized yourself in it? Because usually when I've talked to other people, they're already like, they're stripping, they're doing other things that are kind of sex work or, related or adjacent. And it just kind of sounded like a natural step. But you just went from an office to a set.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I always like sex, and it kind of seemed like, hey, I'm going to get paid to have sex.
Sounds pretty good.
Doing something that I like. So I kind of went from there, and I literally went to an adult sex shop, and I had the girl, and we took all the DVDs off the shelf, and I was writing down the names. I had this piece of paper, I'm writing down the names of the companies, and so that was my research. In 2008, it wasn't, that was the best you got. Yeah. And then I had some pictures taken, and I sent some emails off, and some of the companies liked me. They invited me to London, and I shot my first scene.
Nice. So you were living in the UK at the time?
I was living in the UK, yes.
Okay.
And I'm from Liverpool in the UK, so I was kind of living in that area.
I was trying to place the accent. I was just saying, I mean, I'm not very versed in the accents, but you sounded a little more northern.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think some people get confused with like Ireland, or some people say Scotland, Australia.
You hear a few words and you start to, I can understand that. It's sometimes it can blend a little bit.
Yeah.
But
so I went to London, did my first scene, and then it kind of just built from there. I started shooting, I shot in Europe, and then I thought, the next big step is got to be America. So got myself over here and started living here in 2010 and making movies. So it was great. I got to shoot with all the big companies, all the big production companies, all of the ones that were out at that time.
Yeah. Like Reality Kings, Naughty America, Brazzers, which they're all still around.
Yes.
It's just, it's different though.
Yeah. Some of them have gone, I shot for like Wicked and Vivid, and there are others, so, they kind of like, some of them kind of disappeared and some of them merged and some of them got bought out. But yeah, it was, and I stopped shooting boy-girl scenes in 2013.
Okay. You started or you stopped?
Stopped.
Okay.
Stopped, yeah. Okay. So I was shooting boy, girl, and I stopped, and I just carried on doing the girl.
Okay.
And I started directing for a company called Philly Films, and I made a lot of movies, and it was all lesbian family affair. So it was very taboo. It was obviously, if you
step.
It's step.
That's what you have to always preface it with a step relationship.
Step relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, none of us were actually related to each other, for the purposes of this video.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah. But it was great. It was like kind of like my fantasies with hot MILFs and hot young girls, and it was all the pretend relationship, mummy, sister, daughter, step.
Yeah.
Stick the step in. And it was great. I did some scenes and I made some movies. I came to London and we shot a movie in London. I did two volumes of it, Tanya Tate, Brit School Brats.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun. We made it in this big building, which is in Portland Place. And they had a lot of sex parties in there. It's like, I literally, back when I first started, like it wasn't my very first scene, but one of my first scenes, it was in this big house in the basement. And they had this big jacuzzi and a bar. And it was great. And, I went back like a few years later. I'm like, here I am with my crew making a movie.
Nice.
And funny, I'm leading on to another story. The background is kind of like very unique, the way they've painted the walls in this particular room. And I went to a concert, and I don't know if you know the group Spandau Ballet.
I have not.
Right, so they're like a British like new wave.
Okay,
it's kind of like a new wave group, and
like 80s style new wave.
Yeah,
oh,
80s.
That's cool.
80s, and I went there to the concert. They were in LA, and I'm like, I gotta go. I'm like, oh God, I love these guys. And I bought the VIP ticket. I'm standing there by myself, and it comes to me, and they're like, oh, it's Tanya. I was like, oh my God. And then I realized some of the pictures that I'd taken on my movie, they'd also did the photo shoot there. So I was just like, oh, there's some pictures of me and there's pictures of you, and see that place there. I had sex there. They were like, oh.
That's nice.
So it's fun. It's fun little stories. But yeah, so I was doing the girl movies. And then I was doing, like, I don't know what you want me to tell you, so I'm just going to keep talking. I'm just going to keep talking.
You have the floor. This is all you. Make my job easier.
Yeah, so I was doing IVF because for a long time I wanted to be a parent.
Yeah.
But I was very career orientated. And so I'm like, okay, I think now is the time. And I think it's not very well spoken about, but like, you think you're always fertile. And then you get to be in your 30s, and then you're in your mid 30s, and the age starts creeping up on you.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's not like, oh, it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, there was this IVF journey going on. And the thing with me, if I want something, I will keep going.
You're gonna keep going,
until I get it. And I did. The IVF worked,
and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So then after you kind of like a woman has a baby and everything changes in her body.
Yeah,
it's like it's fabulous and it's shocking and it's scary and it's amazing. There's so many emotions thrown in, but once you have a baby and the baby's out, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do with this body?
Yeah.
I didn't feel camera ready. And so it took some time, to build back up and build me confidence and get myself back in shape. But that was at the time that OnlyFans was like really starting to take off.
Yeah.
And, so I'm like, okay, I'll do solo. Like friends were doing solo from the house, and I'm just like, I've got no makeup on. I'm in the shower. I'm sitting here in my pajamas. And I started making this candid content, and the fans loved it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, great. So, then I was back doing solo.
Yeah.
And then the fans were like, we want to see you. We want to see you.
We
want to see you in action.
Yeah.
So I started, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some girl. So made a girl scene, my first girl scene back. And did it with Phoenix Marie.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to have her on the show someday.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
So, I'm sure that went really well.
Yeah, that went really well. Actually, we were in Las Vegas.
I mean, I'm sure it would sell well, but like the experience of doing it after you hadn't done it for a while, like, was it kind of jarring coming back, or was it just like you slipping into a, comfortable pair of shoes that
It was nerve-wracking.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I chose Phoenix because she's a really good friend of mine. And I know that
she kind of got in around the same time you did too, right? Like around the mid-2000s?
Yeah. I think she did. Because she was like, Naughty America was shooting in London, and she came to London and she shot she was my first American scene that I shot for.
Okay.
It was me and Phoenix Marie and some guy.
Yeah.
You don't always remember the guy's names.
Yeah. We're forgettable. It's all right.
Some dude.
It only matters from the mid chest to the knees. That's all the men really need to be.
Yeah. So she was like one of my first American scenes, even though I hadn't got to America yet.
Yeah.
So she's always been a really good friend, and if I ever need advice, she's one of my go-to people. She really is. Later on we'll come to something else that I did something, a first, and she's my go-to. But yeah, we set up the pictures, and I'm like, okay, this is great. And we were going to start the scene, and I just went, oh, I feel nervous. She went, okay, time out. Let's go and get a drink.
Okay, yeah. Loosen it up a little bit.
Let's go. So we went and had a nice little glass of wine, come back, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready now.
It's a good thing you'd performed with her before. Maybe she might be, that you're like, oh, where's this going to go?
Yeah. she's dropping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that went really well. So I was glad, and I was like, okay, I'm back. I didn't forget. I just felt nervous.